The guest that we're going to be interviewing today has over 12 years in the military with the U.S. Army. He served another 16 years with the Foster City Police Department, and most currently just got elevated from an interim to now official police chief for the city of Lathrop, and that is Chief of Police Stephen Silly. And so we're definitely happy to have you today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Anything that you can elaborate on the mission statement or even the message Lathrop Police Department stands for?
If you come here to do crime, then you will be arrested and we will be prosecuted, right? Other than that, come here, have a great time.
Yeah. All right, well, welcome back to another episode of All Things Lathrop, where we shine a light on the great city of Lathrop, where it's come from, what it's doing today for its residents, and really for the community at large, and then also a glimpse into the future plans of what the city has in store. So today we're covering a topic I believe is, well, I know it's definitely very relevant. I'm sure a lot of you can definitely attest to this, and that is the area of law enforcement, or simply put, public safety. There's a lot of cities, maybe even states, what have you, that don't view the necessity of law enforcement in order for public safety to be had. And so today we're going to be talking about public safety, or really law enforcement. And so the guest that we're going to be interviewing today has over 12 years in the military with the U.S. Army. He served another 16 years with the Foster City Police Department, and most currently just got elevated from the interim to now official police chief for the city of Lathrop, and that is Chief of Police Stephen Silly. And so we're definitely happy to have you today. Definitely looking forward to this discussion, and yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So kind of, going through some of your background, I believe you joined the Lathrop Police Department in, was it 2022?
Yep, February 2022.
February 2022. And so there's been a lot of development. I know that we were talking offline before the podcast, a lot of development. The city of Lathrop formed its own police department I believe, opened in July of 2022, correct?
June 29th.
June 29th, that's right. That's right. Seeing that, there was a little bit of a discrepancy. Okay, June 29th. So, and obviously we're in February of 24, and so it's still relatively new, but obviously there's a lot that goes into that, really getting something off the ground, certainly a brand new police department. There's a lot of work, but kind of just going through Chief Stephen Silly's background. He holds a master's degree in law enforcement and public safety leadership from the University of San Diego. He was actually born in the beautiful country of Barbados. A lot of people go there for tourism. So there's a lot of experience that Chief Stephen Silly definitely brings to the table, and we're happy to have him on the podcast today. So with that being said, kind of just want to take a little step back and maybe set the foundation, if you will, for the background. I know you came from the country of Barbados. That's your place of birth. What was the age? I believe you said last time when we were talking about it, you came to the U.S. relatively young. How old were you, or what year was that? Do you recall?
Well, so my again, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
So I was born in Barbados, and right around 5 years old, my mother moved to the United States. So I was raised by my grandmother. I went to school in Barbados, spent my holidays in Brooklyn, New York. So I didn't stay in New York until I was about 14 years old to go to school, so I could go to high school in New York City.
Okay.
So for matter my younger years till about 14. So probably around 1989 is when I permanently stayed in the United States.
Okay.
If I can recall the dates.
So you didn't go to New York until you were 14? Is that
To stay permanently, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's more like I went to school in Barbados.
Okay.
And then so like we have our Christmas breaks, vacation, or our summer vacations. I spent those in New York City with my mom.
Oh, I see.
And then
Gotcha.
permanently stayed in New York City at the age of 14. So
Okay.
yeah.
So no New York accent.
No New York accent. It comes out every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then from there, I joined the Army in 1994. And I spent a little over 12 years in active duty Army.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And decided to stay in California when I got out of the Army, and I got hired in Foster City. And I spent my 16 years there in several assignments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were essentially raised by your grandmother.
Yes.
Okay. What was that like? Or maybe you can speak to a little bit in terms of your familial upbringing. What was that like? And maybe talk about some principles that caused you to even consider and obviously join the military, and then later on, even after that, law enforcement. What were some of those things that might have lent to that decision to go into law enforcement?
Well, so my father was actually a police officer in Barbados when I was younger, and then my grandmother, my mom is one of 11, 2 boys,
Okay.
and nine sisters, nine sisters, 2 brothers, and so I had a huge family growing up, lots of cousins, lots of family members. So
Yeah.
From my grandmother, the upbringing, what I really got from her was that family bond, taking care of each other, doing the right things for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So I've always been interested from, seeing my dad do it to, I have an uncle who was also in the military, they call it Defense Force in Barbados.
Okay.
So I was always interested in both. And, and at one point I wanted to do both at the same time. I wanted to be in the military and be a military police. When I tested, I scored in a different category, and suggested I go into the medical field in the military. So I was able to do the military. I enjoyed it, had a great time in there traveling, deploying. And at one point, we decided to get out of the military and do my second adventure, my second goal, to be a police officer. So then I transitioned over to that. As far as my upbringing, again, we were a large family in a small home in the islands. And that we're back in the days, you were outside running around all day, right? Playing soccer, playing cricket, playing basketball. So it's a different smaller community, family style environment. So I bring a lot of that with me as I move through my career.
So as far as law enforcement, it sounds like basically it was more, specifically on that, it was more the influence of your father and your uncle then.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And obviously that togetherness, taking care of each other from that familiar upbringing.
Yeah.
You brought that obviously to Foster City, now to the city of Lathrop. So that's really good. That's awesome. So your military background, I know we briefly talked about last time, but 12 years in the Army? 12 years in the Army. And what is it that you did over there?
So initially I started out in public health, public health, field sanitation, and as you promote, I moved into the medical field. So more triaging, tourniquets, combat medic style medical treatment. You were performing any surgeries or anything like that, but just life-saving efforts, right? And I was attached to a medical unit in Korea, and then my final medical unit was in Washington, in Fort Lewis.
Okay. And so then going from the military, you obviously still had a drive for that, and so that's basically what spurred you into kind of doing this career-wise, essentially.
Yes. When I got out, I thought about going to the medical field.
Okay.
Being a medic,
Still had that in you.
paramedic on the bus, and
Okay.
but as I looked into it, there was a lot of training and a lot of hours and a lot of things that still needed to be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as I was weighing my options, because while in the military, I got certified working with the USDA, USDC, performing compliance inspections at different companies and large manufacturers, stuff like that. I weighed the options on what I wanted to do, and it just came back to one of the things that I've always wanted to do. I thought that I would enjoy is being a police officer. So,
Gotcha.
After looking into those things for a few months prior to getting out, I decided to just continue down the path that I was wanting to get down in the first place. So I applied at several agencies and got accepted at a few, and then we chose Foster City.
That's good. Yeah. So it's been just Foster City from the military, and then obviously now Lathrop. Then there's no been in between, or
no in between. I'm not real. I'm moving around a lot from different agencies.
Good stability.
I like stability.
Yeah.
So I can get focused on what I want to do in that agency. In that job. Also, if you want to create that team bond, and you want to get familiar with the people you work with, and you like the environment you work in. Changing it, for me, it's comfortable. I can do it. I did it in the military. I moved around every 2 years. From base to base, but and once I've been out, I wanted to kind of be more stable. So I did work with several other agencies in San Mateo County. I was on the terrorism counter assault team, which was through the sheriff's office, and multiple agencies on that. I was also on the North Central Regional SWAT team. She had about 7 to 9 agencies at one point on their team. It was a regional team similar to what we have here in San Mateo County and San Joaquin County right now.
Okay.
So I worked with other agencies when I worked at Gang Task Force, and I worked in the different cities in the county, but I was always employed by the city, Foster City. That was my home.
So you got a litany of experience. It sounds like definitely a solid upbringing, obviously. That familiar togetherness, if you will, influenced by your father and your uncle to go into law enforcement. Yes, on that, a little quick question. What, looking back now, or maybe you could recall even when you were growing up in Barbados, what are some of the main differences? I'm sure there's a lot, but what are the main differences from, like, say, law enforcement in Barbados to that of your U.S. experience now?
Well, I have some friends and family members that are still down there in the police department. It's the difference is just the crime is changing a little bit more in the islands. So back in the past, it was more. You didn't have a lot of shootings and different style crimes that you had in the United States. So I think for the differences now in law enforcement in the islands and here is just the technology and the availability of some of the equipment that we may have, the armored vehicle.
A lot less crime over there, I'm assuming, though, right?
A lot less crime over there too as well. But it's similar structure. They have SWAT teams. They have neighborhood response teams. They have a similar structure, but I think as far as police departments go and law enforcement in general, there's a different type of policing that happens down there than happens here.
Different philosophy.
And I think that's all based because it's less crime.
Yeah. That's a huge tourist destination too.
Huge tourist destination. Yeah. So, what I love about Barbados, and I know some of the other places you may go to, there's always this stay out of these areas and stay next to the...
In Barbados too?
No, not in Barbados, right? So it was like stay at the resort and stay, but in Barbados, you get to go down there and be a tourist amongst the community. So there's not a separation.
Yeah.
So you go to beaches where everyone, all locals are at, the restaurants, the stores. So there's no places where it's unsafe for you to
That's
go.
good. There's no silos in
Yes, no silos. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So Barbados, New York, military, Foster City, and now Lathrop. Question, why Lathrop?
Well, I moved to Lathrop about 3 years ago.
Okay.
So I was commuting back and forth to Foster City for work. Why Lathrop? Right around COVID time, we decided, maybe it's time to get a larger home in case, the kids have to come back home again. And if we ever have to be in an environment like that again, where we're kind of stuck in the house, and we have a comfortable environment for the kids to be able to, do their college studies online or, not be on top of each other.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons we started looking at larger homes in different areas, more outdoor where we could get out and go fishing, because we started doing a lot more outdoor stuff during the COVID during COVID times. So I started looking. Well, we started looking in like Castro Valley and different areas.
Okay.
And I had a friend that said he came to get a U-Haul. He lived in Tracy. He's picking up the U-Haul in Lathrop, and happened to drive through Lathrop. And he calls me. He's like, "I know you're looking, and I know you may not want to come out here, but you should come check out River Islands."
Yeah.
So we drove through Lathrop. We checked out the Mossdale and the Stamford Crossing and River Island. And I was like, "Oh, I kind of like Lathrop."
Yeah.
So I started looking into it. I'm like, you know what? Let's look at Lathrop a little bit more. So we toured a few homes, and ultimately I decided that this was the place to come to. So we moved here prior to the position being even open for the department.
So you're kind of scoping out the area already.
Yeah. So we moved here. We were already living here. We stayed a couple months in Tracy while the house was being built. And then we moved into Lathrop, and as we were living here,
prior to you accepting a position,
prior to even applying to the position,
wow,
yeah, and then I had
loved it that much,
yeah, I had a captain that in Foster City that he saw online. He's like, "Hey, that place you moved to looks like they're looking for a police chief who's starting a new police department," and he said, "I think I might apply. You're going to come with me?" And I was like, "Well, it's home. So, I might apply. Let's look into it." So we looked into it. He ultimately didn't apply for the chief's position, but I applied for the commander position.
Okay.
And was lucky enough to get selected.
Yeah.
And was part of the team to build the agency from the ground up. So, being, a few minutes from home was very, And just being in the community, right? It's a different, I didn't live in Foster City, but I was invested in Foster City, right? I did 100% my best to make the city safe. But there's just a different level of investment and commitment to a community when you live in it, because you can't look away from it when you leave the house to go to the store. When you leave the house to go to the park, places that you play and you eat and you kind of frequent. It reminds you that you have to continue doing your best to keep the community safe.
Yeah,
and
creates that sense of ownership.
Find ways to create an environment that you would like your family and your kids to come and live in and play. And when I retire, I want to live in a community where I know the police department is going to respond if I call 911.
Yeah,
and I know that if I'm out and about, that I'm safe, my home is safe, and they're doing their best. So, as I got into it and started looking into it and started testing, I met a few people, and I was like, this may be the place to stay. So, I wasn't all the way in right away. I had to, because Foster City was home, right? So I said, let me just kind of scope it out, and as I got to meet the chief and former chief and the other commander. So, okay, I think I could be on this team.
Yeah.
So I accepted the position, and then here I am. But yeah, I didn't move to Lathrop for the position. I was already in Lathrop.
So Lathrop was the pool as opposed to the police department.
Yeah, Lathrop was the pool. Yeah, Lathrop was the pool.
That's cool. That's a good little story.
Yeah.
So in Foster City, when you were working for the police department over there, were you living in Foster City or like the surrounding?
No, I lived in San Jose.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So I was commuting from San Jose to Foster City. So I didn't live in the community over there.
Wow. So that's another dynamic, obviously, coming over to this department.
Yeah.
Actually living in the area. So that's good though.
Yeah.
And I definitely agree. Can attest. Basically creates that ownership, or really simply put, a vested interest. Because you see it every day, like you said, and so you want to obviously do something about it too, and improve it if you can.
Yes.
That's good. So, kind of want to go into one of the things that you talked about briefly, and that is starting the police department. June 29th, 2022, when the Lathrop Police Department officially basically opened up. Coming from Foster City, obviously that police department was already up and running. You basically joined or hopped on a plane that was already flying. Now we're here, basically, it's still relatively new, not even 2 years really. Yeah. You were definitely a part of, I'm assuming, a part of that building and still kind of building up really. Talk about that. What was that like? And what are maybe some things that you kind of pulled from maybe your past experience, whereas in the military, even from your Foster City Police Department experience, to get Lathrop Police Department up and running?
So I was initially the chief, executive admin, and 2 commanders, and we were here. Yeah, and we started. We're
just
building,
for you,
just the 4 of us in the building. Actually, we had two CSOs that were already employed by the city that was already here, Kathy and Whitney. So 6 of us in the building, and we're building these different projects and programs. I was put in charge of operations, building that side of the house, which includes patrol, CSOs, SWAT, the bike patrol, the animal center, animal services, et cetera, et cetera. So I was given the opportunity to come up and create our beats, our assignments, where the officers would be, and how we provide consistent service throughout the city of Lathrop. Because and what I drew from Foster City is it's a small community. I was bigger than Lathrop as far as population, but a small police agency, and the style of policing that we had there was no crime is too small, no call is too small. If you call 911, if you call up the dispatch and request a police officer, you're going to get a police officer.
It's a very similar philosophy.
It's a similar philosophy. So those are some of the things I took and brought here with me, because I wanted to continue to foster that type of environment here in Lathrop. Yeah. Because with that, we were able to build transparency, build trust, and really enhance our community safety. And the difference is with Lathrop is that the landmass is larger. It's a rapidly growing city. So with that, we have to constantly making sure that we are building these programs and creating these projects and enhancing our ability to collaborate with the community, collaborate with the businesses, to really be effective with the community safety and the crime prevention. Yeah. So some of the strategies I took from Foster City and brought here, because across the city at some points was in the top 10 safest cities in the state of California, out of about 1,600 cities, over 30,000 people. Okay. So I think that those strategies and those philosophies is what really helped us maintain that level. So I wanted to bring that here to the city of Lathrop, because not only was part of the command staff, but also I live here in the city. So I want Lathrop to also be in the top 10 safest cities to live in. Lathrop's already a safe place to live, so we want to maintain that level of safety as the city grows, right? As retail comes in, as more residents come in, and we want to be visible, we want to be proactive, and we can't do that alone. So that community collaboration, the business collaboration, and our innovation and our technology a lot of those things are brought here from our other agencies, and we're trying to use some of those strategies to enhance, how we do police work here, and how we structured our beats and our teams was kind of similar to my other agency, where supervision throughout each shift is consistent, and there's always oversight. There's always a supervisor on shift. So we wanted to build more of that team environment, because I believe that as you have teams are together, they build stronger bonds, they work well together, and with that constant supervisor sending the same messages down the chain, that you inherently become a stronger team. And so, more effective for the community.
So constant communication, then a lot of camaraderie, what have you. So I don't know if you'd be able to, but maybe even from a high level, would you be able to talk about some of the things that that enable, or basically you put in place, where this philosophy-wise, or even strategies? I'm not sure how much you'd be able to go into that, but comparing like other cities, for example, this is something I was looking into as well, in terms of the reasons why, whether it's like a local municipality ordinance or regulation, or even state or federal, but obviously I don't think that seems to not be the case. It seems to be more at the local level in terms of what policing policies are in place, correct? Say, so for example, like a San Francisco, or even, unfortunately Oakland, where the law enforcement seems to be really just unpresent, or just not there. Whether it's a resource issue, what have you, I'm not exactly sure. But there's obviously a drastic night and day comparison from Oakland, or even San Francisco, just policy-wise, to the city of Lathrop. And obviously, from your experience, it sounds like Foster City as well. What are the reasons for that? Is it really just whatever the city government at that level sets in place, or what is the reason that governs that types of policy?
So it is at that local level. You create our policies. There are some general policies across the board with the city of Lathrop and other cities, where there's a system we use, Lexipol policies. Okay. And a lot of agencies go through Lexipol policies, and they're generic across the board. They put these out. They have law firms, they have experts that review these policies, and other agencies have access to these policies, so you can use them to use as your own policies. Right? They're always up to date on case law and state mandates and federal mandates and different laws that are coming out, and they're incorporating those in the policies consistently. So it's kind of essentially a company that updates your policies for you, so you can stay up to speed on the current initiatives and current laws that are passed.
Regulation entity, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
So with that, a lot of agencies are pretty consistent, but even within that, you don't have to use those policies. When those policies come out, you can edit those policies and cater them to your agency.
So it's a template that you can draw from that local municipality.
Yeah. So you can use the template, or you can use the templates and adjust it, or you can just get the templates and send those out. So it is at the local level. So it really depends on what the city wants, right? As an agency, we go through our policies. We connect with our police officer association. We connect with other agencies in the area as we're building this agency, and kind of adopting some of the policies around the area. And as we go forward as well, we're adjusting and we're adopting more policies when we realize different things that we may need in the city of Lathrop to adopt. So it is really not consistent across the board for most agencies, because as a law enforcement agency, you kind of, as a chief, can determine which policies and how stringent they are. Some places may allow police officers to pursue, and some places may not allow police officers to pursue.
And that's just governed by the local basis, like you said.
Governed by local, yeah. And sometimes incidents may dictate that, adjust in policies, but it's really up to the leadership in the agency. And also the city government, right? We run those things through the city attorney prior to it, putting any policies in place to make sure that legally we're on solid footing.
Got it. So does some of those policies then get or go through or even are approved by city council, or is that outside of their purview?
So initially, when we launched, everything got approved through city council, adopting our policies and procedures.
So it does.
Yes. As we move forward, it goes through the city attorney. The city attorney, if I want to put out a policy that I'm changing something legally, I'd send it over to the city attorney before we institute any policy for the first time. The city attorney take a look at it. Well, updating the policies, then it doesn't go over to the city attorney because the updates are being pulled from Lexipol, which the lawyers are already reviewing. They're not significantly changing the structure of our policies. If the law changes, you don't have a choice to change the policy to fit the law. You can make it more stringent, not less.
Right. Okay.
Right? So you can decide that, the law says this, but we want to enhance that even more.
Yeah.
I take it to another level, but you don't want to go below
federal minimums or state minimums.
Minimums.
Yeah, absolutely. Got it. So any structural updates to those policies would still have to make its way back to the council for them to be approved in order for those to be enacted, then I'm assuming?
So once the policies were approved initially, any enhancement that may change the structure of it, I send that to city attorney.
So if you wanted to go less stringent, say later on, that would just go back to the city attorney?
Yeah, we wouldn't go less stringent.
I'm just hypothetically.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want that. I'm just asking.
I really couldn't question hypothetically because I wouldn't go. It's
sure.
That it would just put us in a.
Let me rephrase the question. If a city police department wanted to go less stringent, say from their policy that was enacted, say 20 years prior, would that situation have to go back to city council, or would that just simply make its way back to the city attorney just to make sure there's no legal issues with that?
Well, this is an assumption because, it's really hypothetical because I don't know why an agency would want to do that. Because
for example, for example, the whole defund the police issue, right? Back in I don't know how prevalent it is still today, but something like that, obviously, that's taken a huge step back, right? So, what would that situation look like in terms of those policies being approved? Would that have to go back to the city council, that local municipality, or what would that look like? Maybe that's a real world situation.
So you're talking similar to the 8 Can't Wait, those kind of policies?
I think it was in Minneapolis, for example, Minnesota. I think they basically instituted like some sort of defund the police thing. And I didn't really study the legalities of that. But what would that look like from an approval process standpoint?
So with that, as far as defunding the police, that stuff would go through city council. All right.
Okay.
Because the police department itself wouldn't enact any of those policies.
So that's like a whole nother
take away. To take away positions like a lot of schools in certain areas didn't want police in the schools anymore. So with that, they took the police out of the schools. So now you have to find some place to put these officers, right? That wouldn't be something we would do on our own. But also, a lot of the policies, especially at my last agency and here in Lathrop, a lot of those, and they called it the 8 Can't Wait, we already had those policies in place. So
what policies exactly?
Policies as far as use of force, reporting, transparency. Our policies were on our website already visible to the public.
Those are just standard policing?
Standard policing policies. But all agencies, again, their policies, you don't have to have all the same policies. So at that point, it was more of just highlighting those policies and putting those out so the community, educating the community on the things that we already had. But we had a very supportive community. We're policing at a different level. For instance, like the chokehold, the carotid.
Are you talking about now specific tactics?
Specifically for the defund, that was part of one of the things that was a big issue.
The reasons why.
So changing policy and taking something like that out, again, that ended up being coming down to to law and mandates, and it was required to take out. So something like that wouldn't go back to council because it's something that's mandated that we weren't doing.
Go back to the federal minimums. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of as far as the defunding goes. That's it. That would be with council and city hall.
Got it.
They talking about what we're going to fund and what we're not going to fund.
Sure.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know because I was studying, looking into it even last night, a couple of days leading up to this interview today, and I didn't. For you, I'm sure it's like a dull moment. Obviously, this is his career, and obviously in and out.
Mm-hmm.
But for someone out from the outside looking in, it's not exactly clear as to where are the what are the governing regulations, if you will, for those policing standards. So, like you said, basically in a nutshell, it goes back to the local level, which that police is policing. Got it.
It's not reinventing the wheel either, right? If it's out of it, the policies are already out there, like I said, inflexible. So it's just pulling the policies and seeing what policies we need. Sometimes there are policies and they're regarding to jails, and we don't have jails, so we won't take those policies. It's just kind of pulling in the policies that are already out there and approved and deciding which policies we're going to use. At the same time, we have our personnel rules from the city. Mm-hmm. So our policies match our personnel rules, right? Because the personnel rules gives you the minimum standards and what things are supposed to look like and how processes are supposed to work. And, the disparaging comments and the treatment of employees and the minimums, sick leave, things like that. Yeah. So we have the personnel rules, and then we craft our policies to make sure that they include our personnel rules and they don't contradict our personnel rules. So these are things that are set in place already by the city that we use to develop our policies from the basic personnel, staffing, things like that. But as on the other hand, we have like our pursuit policies or use of force policies that aren't generally used by the city that we have to create on the front end. Yeah.
Got it. So on that note, that's a good point to kind of lead into my next question. So policy-wise, hate to say it, but it's true. Even again, comparing Lathrop to other municipalities, for example, put it that way, where the policies are less stringent. What can you maybe speak to some key points that makes Lathrop a lot different from other municipalities in terms of what we allow or what we don't allow? I know even some looking at the Lathrop Police Department Instagram page, you see a lot of arrests even made, for something as well, so what some people would call simple, and that's shoplifting. Talk about the tolerance level of the Lathrop Police Department.
So I think, and that's one of the things that we talked about prior to, before the interview started, is that I think as a society we've gotten to a point where something as simple as a theft, well, it's not simple. It's a theft, right? Yeah. So the mindset for the officers, the mindset here in Lathrop and the direction is that no crime is too small, right? It's a violation of the law. Or police officers going to come out, and we're going to take action, right? We're going to enforce it to the fullest extent. So here in Lathrop, I've adopted a zero tolerance to organized retail theft. So as you see on our social media, which is kind of a fraction of what we're actually in, we're actually coming across on a daily basis, is that it doesn't matter if it's below $900 or above $900. If you're stealing, if you're affecting the businesses in town, if you're taking product, if you're committing any of these crimes, whether misdemeanor or felony, the officers are going to come out, they're going to enforce the law, and they're going to arrest you for it.
So you're actually enforcing the law.
We are enforcing it. And so that's it. It's kind of having really great officers who are willing to get out there and do it, and just reminding them that we can't control what happens after the person's arrested or after the case goes through the DA's office or they go to court. What we can control is what we are supposed to be doing, enforcing the law. And so we're getting out to the businesses and letting the businesses know that, it doesn't matter what it is. Give us a call. We're going to come And as we've been building those relationships and we've enforced that zero tolerance mindset and that policy and the procedures, that now we're seeing more businesses are collaborating, more businesses are calling us, and we're being more effective. And it looks like there's an uptick in that type of crime. What it is more is that we are catching more people in that type of crime.
It's more reportable.
We're reporting now, and we're working together, so we're actually able to return thousands and thousands of dollars worth of product to these businesses, and so they're not losing that income. Not losing that profit, which ultimately we know trickles back down to us, the consumer, right? If the store is losing money, then
that's true.
And ultimately, if they're losing too much money and we're not doing our jobs, then maybe they leave the city, right? And then it's less convenient for us to go to the store and shop. So
it's true.
Just having that in place reminds the officers what's important to the agency, to us as a team, and to the community, and it allows them to go out and feel great about just going out there and doing it, and not worrying about what the outcome is. Right? We'll continue to work on that up through the chain, through the DA's office, and through government, and try to work on how we get some of these things repealed. But until then, our job is public safety, right? So that's what we're here for. So we've adopted that zero tolerance for the sideshows, the organized retail thefts. If you're going to come into town and you're going to victimize residents of Lathrop, then we're going to get out. We're going to find you. We're going to arrest you, and we're going to enforce the fullest extent of the law. And that's kind of been the mindset. That's the policy. Like, just no call is too small. Some agencies you and it's a staffing thing, or you get a call and the officer goes to it. They make sure it's safe, because that's what we're good at, making sure things are safe. And then they call a unit, the robbery unit, the burglary unit, the theft unit, and they come out and but here in Lathrop, being a small agency, the officers, when they go out and take these calls, they're taking them from beginning to end. So they're investigating this all the way through, and if they get to a point where they can no longer do any more, and we need more investigation, then it goes to the detectives. But a lot of these crimes and a lot of these cases are being solved by officers on patrol, writing warrants, going out to homes, doing searches, finding guns, finding drugs, arresting suspects.
So they're doing the whole shebang as opposed to that.
Shebang.
Interesting.
So that's the difference between
us. I know that. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So they're basically full invested in every call, basically.
Yes.
Wow, that's a good little mantra or a line, basically. No call is too small, like that.
Call is too small, yeah.
That's good. You mentioned it, basically, there's been a lot more collaboration amongst the businesses. What's been, I know you've been here since 2022, and it hasn't been that long, but prior to the Lathrop Police Department getting stood up, if you will, we were obviously contracting with the county sheriff. Have you heard any feedback, whether it's been through residents or even some businesses, and what maybe the response time or even the collaboration from before to now that Lathrop actually has its own police department?
Well, our response times are really good right now for the year. Tracking it from the beginning of the year again. I want to make sure that we're constantly mindful of calls coming in and officers getting out to the calls. So our response time now is 5 minutes for priority calls, and now we're below 15 minutes for non-priority calls, which is we've worked our way down from 20 minutes down to 14 minutes for those. And those are calls, say they're cold calls, and officers are on other calls, and that call has to hold for a few minutes. So the goal is to keep that below 15 minutes, because industry standard is like 20, 30 minutes, right? So, and our officers are maintaining that level a lot lower. And same thing with the response times. We're between 4 minutes and 14 seconds. I last looked at it between 5 minutes and 40 seconds for emergency response times. And for a city, 22 square miles, that's pretty good getting across town in less than 5 minutes.
That's true.
It's a fix, especially during traffic time or lights turning green. So
that's a good point. That's a good way to look at it too. And I'm sure, obviously, as Lathrop continues to become bigger. I mean, even River Islands, for example, they're not even halfway through full build out, which I believe Susan's mentioned it's going to take another 20 plus years. And so basically looking into the future, there's no doubt in my mind that Lathrop is going to, in short order, going to reach 100,000 plus population wise. I definitely see that. So obviously, as you mentioned earlier, the police department is going to have to grow with the city in order to accommodate. I'm not sure what the ratio is, or what the standard, or even if you guys deviate from what the standard in terms of the ratio of police officer to population is, a 1 to 1,000, or what is that?
So my preference and standard is 1.2 per 1,000.
1.2.
What that does is it allows us to kind of put in for like injuries, sick time, retirements, things like that. Also, it allows us to stay ahead of the growth because with that right now, we're able to perform at a high level where we have the officers that can, we can have an officer in each beat and be able to respond to their calls quickly.
Yeah,
I believe personally, if we get below 1 per 1,000, then we lose some of that ability to be visible and be more reactive. Because as the call service increase and the population size increases, then again more calls for service. If we fall to a point where we have less officers than we need, then we can't respond to crime as fast as we need to. Right. Obviously, we'll always respond to the priority calls because when they come up, you drop everything else. But then, the crimes that you say that are not emergency calls and a person is not in danger at that moment, sometimes those fall back and those calls are holding for a long time.
Yeah.
You would see in some places where the officers go get in their car at the beginning of their shift and they turn on their computers and there are 20 calls already holding, right? And sometimes they don't even get to those calls by the end of the day. You don't want that to be what's happening here in Lathrop, because then you lose some of that that personal touch. You lose some of that call to the completion. You want them to do the investigation through and provide a high level of service, so you feel the resident you leave the resident better than the way you found them, right?
Yeah.
But when you've got all calls pending and things holding, then you become we don't want to become the agency. We're like, all right, we're going to do this and pass it to the detectives and come back to the next call, and then you're call, and you're really not making an impact because you don't have the time to.
Right. You're stretched too thin.
Yes, stretched too thin. Yes.
So 1 to 1,000. I'm assuming that's like an industry standard.
I think most places talk about it, and that is kind of the industry standard that most would like it to be.
Got it.
Some agencies fall below that based on just not being able to hire or positions being frozen or just kind of doing more with less.
Yeah.
Which you can do if your level of service isn't what we want here in Lathrop. We can do that. But why I prefer 1.2 per 1,000 is because it allows us to maintain the same level of service that we're providing right now as the city rapidly grows. And we stay ahead of the city growth as it grows. And we're not, because we were given 5 positions last year, early last year, soon after we launched. We just filled all 5 positions last year at the end of the year. Right, it took us almost a year, and that was with getting people in, getting them trained up, getting them out on the street, and slowly but surely we're hiring and filling those positions. Obviously, we had some changes and some positions were freed up, so just finally getting to full staff. And currently we're full staff for patrol, but we're not full staff throughout the agency because I'm still, I still have to
as a whole
captain positions as a whole. We're still not full staff. right? So the positions were given, and now we're getting to a point where we can actually look and see what a full, with all the positions filled, what that service looks like. Like hopefully we can sit back and now see, all right, is that enough? Are we doing the best we can? Are we responding to their calls as quickly as possible? With all that we're doing, we're doing everything right. Is it effective? And if so, then we're on the right path, right? But
so when you say like 1 or even 1.2 per thousand, you're talking about in terms of specific patrols, like basically police on the street.
Well, most of once you fill the command staff, the detective positions, things like that. So as you got to look at, the calls are increasing, and as the staff increases, there are more reports are being taken in. So now we've got record staff who has stayed the same size from inception till now, but they're taking in way more reports because we're active. We're actually out there. Fighting crime. We're actually out there taking.
There's a lot more to process.
Yeah, so there's a lot more to process. But that unit isn't growing, and then we have the detective unit, who has been the same from day one, but they're taking in more cases, and
it's like not residual effect.
And we're requiring them to do more with less, right? So as you grow, those are some of the areas that you really have to focus on. Again, what's the level of we don't want to get to as a point where we're all right. Well, we got to decide which cases we're going to investigate in the detective bureau, and then we'll get back to these ones when we get to these ones. But we can't predict what crimes are going to happen during the week, so you're constantly pushing those things down. So we don't want to get to that position where we're doing that. And with the officers doing more on patrol and detectives doing that job inside, we're managing that with that level 1.2 per thousand. It is. So that's just kind of one of the things I continue to push, because in my mind, if we want to continue to maintain and Lathrop is a safe place to live. We want to continue to keep Lathrop a safe and enjoyable place to live.
Right.
And as the city grows and these retail businesses come in and the restaurants come out, we want to make sure that Lathrop is a safe place to live, work, and play. So if you want to go to a restaurant, you park your car. You want to come back out and make sure your car is there when you come out, right? So as we're doing that on the city's end, and we're collaborating with the city and making sure they have proper lighting and video recording equipment in the parking lots and outside the restaurants, and that we'll have access to it if things happen. So we want to continue to maintain that level and continue to maintain safety of the agency. Then the boots on the ground, I call them, are very important. We are using our technology and we're being innovative, and the city has cameras that we're utilizing, and it helps us solve these crimes. But, if the officers aren't out there, following up on these crimes and investigating them and being present, then cameras after the fact are great.
Right.
But I'm sorry.
So when
tough to beat.
Well, being the new police chief now, I'm sure that that become an official role now.
Yes,
you're probably going to get all the calls you more sent out. So head count. So when do you anticipate that full head count being established? We're already in February of 2024. You mentioned the 5 positions that were provided to the department last year have now just been fulfilled. Is there still more of a head count that needs to be reached in order for the department to be where you want it to be?
I think so. Right now, we're building my command staff, building that back up, and building a strong, cohesive unit, and also keep taking a look at what needs to be done. Right, we still have things that we would like to do. We're still getting our traffic unit up and running. We got 2 of the oldest motorcycles filled. We've got the 3rd bike coming in, so Philip putting somebody on that that in that position so we can be really kind of make an impact with the traffic concerns around town.
So putting a few more pieces in place, basically.
So putting the pieces in place to create those units, to fully get those up and functioning so we can actually make more of an impact to the issues that the community highlighted prior to launch. So yes, I think there's positions that will be needed to be added to make sure that we can fill those positions without taking away from the day-to-day calls for service, the traffic stops, the proactivity, the walkthroughs, the business relationships.
Yeah.
Because putting the officers on the motorcycles and making them a traffic unit, but putting them on the team as an officer that's responding to calls as well takes them away from doing the traffic.
Sure.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we can say we have the traffic guy out there, but he's really not available all day to do the job that he's supposed to be doing.
Basically.
Because everyone here is required to do police work. We're all, we're a small agency, so you can't just take you away from the unit at this time and say you're just doing traffic. You're part of the team. You're helping out, but that takes you away from making impact in those areas.
Got it.
So they're doing a great job at it. Splitting the attention, but there are some areas that will need officers added to enhance those areas so that we're making a more of an impact in the community.
Got it. So what does the ratio look like now? And what's the total head count that you guys have as of today?
As of today, our total head count is 2, 3. So we're down to, I think we're at 39 out of the 42.
Oh, that includes...
That's everyone. Yeah. And yes, we have one availability that's coming up next week. We have one officer leaving, going back to the county that he came from. So we've already got one person in backgrounds to fill that position.
Oh,
so it's constantly changing, right?
Yeah.
See, when you get full in agencies, it's like full, and then something comes up. Which is a great thing for that officer. It just it slows down the process to be able to kind of look at where we're at and how we're functioning with what we have, and if we need to move some pieces from team to team, right? So I'm looking forward to that day. So we still got as a whole 4 positions to fill come as next week.
Oh, really?
That we need to.
Okay.
Yeah, the commander positions and officer position.
And those are all lateral moves, I'm assuming. And then, I guess looking into the future, obviously, it's still pretty new. The department's still pretty new. But will there be opportunity later on? I don't know how much into the foreseeable future, but training opportunities or even like new officers coming on board into law enforcement in general? Or is it still right now it's going to be for some time the building phase, and then there'll be opportunities for non-lateral moves?
So we're lucky enough in that laterals want to come work here. And then we get officers that come in and then they call their friends and they're like, hey, you should come here, right? So we've been lucky with that, because I know that a lot of places are struggling to find really good candidates, and we tend to get some good candidates to apply. And why it took longer to fill those 5 positions is because we're picky. We're selective on who we're hiring. We're taking a full background package. We're taking a really hard look at who we're hiring. So sometimes we were saying no and moving to the next interview and constantly. So we can you fill those positions with 5 individuals that will come in and add to the team.
They could just hit the ground running.
Hit the ground running. But also, I mostly hire for fit, right? Personality, goals, drive, the things I'm looking for. Someone
fit into the community,
into the community, fit into the agency, and kind of bring a positive attitude to work and kind of enhance that team environment.
Well, that's important. So
you could be a great cop and have all the accolades, but might not be a great fit for what we have here. So knowing our environment and knowing what we need It just takes a while to get the right candidates. And right now we have a pretty good list of people that want to come. We have a standby list right now, eligibility list for new employees. But to talk about what you just asked about, yes, I'm ready for entry levels. I think we're at that point where we can hire someone from the academy or hire someone to send them to an academy to start building upon that foundation with someone that's first agent,
fresh,
Lathrop, and maybe they stay here and retire all the way out, right? And it reduces the lateral aspect of it.
Yeah. That's good.
But we've had really great laterals, so because it's been so fruitful for us, and that it's though I want to go to that entry level, we just continue to get these great candidates that come in and to bring that knowledge and experience and someone that can hit the ground running. But what we have to do is teach them the Lathrop way and how we want things done. Then there's some benefit to that. So
that's good. I like that, the Lathrop way. One more question, then we'll kind of want to switch topics a little bit. So priority calls, you mentioned. What does the department consider or define as priority calls? It was like the 4 to 5 minute, and then there was some that are obviously non-priority, in which it's within 15 minutes. What are priorities, or give me some examples of that?
Priority calls, those are determined really with dispatch.
Okay.
So it's kind of what we already inherit. 911 calls, all calls where there is a threat to life, domestic violence, a crash with injuries, an in progress crime, like active burglary, active theft, right? So those are priority calls. Officers that go under those. So a non-priority call, and again, all call, nothing's too small for me.
Sure.
But as far as it's listed, a non-priority call or a lower priority call will be like a cold theft, a cold graffiti call, a cold burglary of a business where it happened sometime within the last few days. It's just for example, where if another call comes in where it's a priority call, we're going to go take that one first. Right. But that's not that saying that the cops aren't going to those calls right away. It's saying that if there's when we do our breakdown and we do our response times for priority calls, they aren't listed in the priority 1 calls. They're listed in the other priorities 2 through 4, which is non-priority 1 calls. Right?
Yeah, got it. So next question is, obviously, like the police department is still relatively new. You've been on the interim basis since I believe September. That's what I thought. Yeah, September 23. Now becoming official, the interim title has been removed as of. Was it 2 days ago? Thursday the 22nd?
22nd.
22nd. Okay, yeah, I just seen that and I was like, I didn't. It wasn't even posted anything, but I have a subscription to the Manteca Bulletin, so I seen it. I was like, oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So definitely congrats on that.
Thank you very much.
A question though, and the only reason I'm asking this is to really get your insight and how, I guess, drawing from your experience, whether it was in the military, even from the foster city, the police department, how you handle, how you processed it, and how kind of you handled the whole situation. And that was obviously the first police chief being removed. I don't remember. It was September 23, actually. Oh, yeah, September 23. Well, maybe can you describe what the situation was like and how you handled it? And because obviously, like you said, even in the military, I even know this for sure. Even anybody should know this, having a job or even just living a life, that change is inevitable. How did you process? I mean, because, the Lathrop Police Department first, is still really new. He wasn't even really a year into the department, and I'm not going to go into the specifics on why. That's, completely confidential, and I respect that. But how did you process that change, really, of being asked to, number one, just processing that change before you, and then obviously being asked to step in those shoes, and now you are officially in those shoes. How did you process that? What was that like for you?
Well, Well, like I mentioned, change, especially in law enforcement, is inevitable.
Yeah.
Right. So what it allows us to do is to continue. We built a great foundation, so it allows us to continue building on that foundation. All right.
Yeah.
So to continue bringing great leaders into the agency and building a strong, cohesive unit moving forward. So how I process that is, again, those decisions are made above my pay grade. And that information is confidential even to me.
Yeah.
But for me, we all came here I was part of building the agency from the start. Right. So my message hasn't changed over the last year and a half. My message was the same from the beginning: fostering a collaborative environment where we're working with the community and within our team, transparency, building trust, right? There's just a different level of how we serve the community. And from the start, I was in charge of operations. So everyone out on patrol in uniform, the people that are out there taking the calls and responding to the first faces you see, they were already under my command. So my message didn't change. So processing that and stepping into the position was just reminding myself that I came here for a reason. I'm invested in this community. I'm invested in this agency, and the change was made, and we have to move forward and continue serving the community at a high level. So I stepped into the position as the interim and just continued sending the same message and continue reminding the officers that, of their responsibilities and reminding them to just focus on your job and the community and doing the right things for the right reasons. And we're going to continue to thrive. And aside from that, then taking a second look at, all right, what do I need in the agency on my command staff to help the leaders in the agency to grow and develop and continue to learn and grow and for them to be able to develop their officers under them. So again, change is inevitable coming from the military. I'm kind of used to it. So it was just getting in the position, understanding what I needed to do next, and then just continuing driving that message home as we move forward.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I definitely understand. My father was also in the military as well, and so, I wasn't privileged or honored to join the military myself. But I can definitely attest to the fact that change is inevitable. One of my first jobs out of college, change was literally happened every day.
Yeah. So
I definitely know what that's like, and so I'm assuming, obviously, like you said, you were able to draw from that, I guess you could say, military mindset, that fact that change is inevitable. And so if something happens, even something that you or someone that you saw every day is no longer there because you're so driven to the mission, like you said, you're able just to, okay, what do I need to do now? And basically just pick up that baton and continue walking forward with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. So kind of switching gears now, I think we kind of briefly already touched or actually elaborated on this a little bit, and that was really the mission statement. We talked about that with actually calling the mission statement, but I drew this up last night, the mission statement for the police department. It says, the Police Department is a team committed to connecting and partnering with our community, and I underscored this, and making a safe and desirable place, and you probably quote it, say making it a safe and desirable place to live, work, and visit.
Yep.
I know that we've already kind of gone into a little depths of that, and definitely appreciate everything that you had to say, and I definitely agree with that, and I appreciate that. Is there anything that you can add to that, maybe as a message to our listeners, the community at large, or even, on the opposite end, in terms of what you do, law enforcement, to the other side of the community, if you will, those that would seek to cause harm to the city? Anything that you can elaborate on the mission statement or even the message of what the police, Lathrop Police Department stands for?
Well, what I would say to those that think that Lathrop is considered Lathrop as prey or a place where they could come and prey on the community or the businesses in town, that we will find you, we'll catch you, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Right, and that is our mission. That is our goal. Our goal is to, like you said, make Lathrop a great place to live, work, and visit. And how we do that is by prosecuting these offenders to the fullest extent of the law. And so, there are plenty of other cities out there that you can go and hang out in. If you come here to do crime, then you will be arrested and we will be prosecuted. Right. Other than that, come here, have a great time.
Yeah. I like that.
Frequent our businesses and out in our nice parks, right?
Right.
Say hi to us when we drive by.
That's right.
And then you're welcome. But you're not here to commit crimes. You're not welcome.
Yeah.
You're not welcome here, and my officers will track you down, seek you out, and remove you from the city. Right. As for the community, I do the Speak to Chief third of every month, where I share community information, police department information, projects, things we're working on. It also is a great time for me to hear things that may be happening out in the community that we can effectively manage or kind of pay some attention to. Our goal is for community education. At some point in the near future, I'd like to create a community academy where I can get members of the community to come in. We do a couple weekends in a row and kind of get an inside look at what we do and how we do it, why we do it, from property evidence collection to how we respond to crimes, to our training, our traffic, our SWAT teams, and really give the community an inside look at what the police department does. So that's come in. I'm working on that right now. But just if you see something, say something. If you have a question, reach out to us. If there's an issue in your neighborhood, please report it. Again, no call is too small. The officers will come out, and if it's not a crime that it's not a crime and it's civil, we'll provide you with the information. So officers aren't just out there to only prevent crime, but we can educate. We can share information. We can point you in the right direction to solve whatever issue you might have. It might just be educating you on what can and can't happen, right? What we can and can't do legally. But please reach out if you have any questions or if there's any issues in your neighborhood. We're here to help, and we want to work collaboratively to keep Lathrop a great place to be.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah. Has that initiative that you talked about, the educational aspect of the community, is that done in that formal capacity in other cities, or where does that? I mean, that's a great idea.
Yes. So I managed community academies at my last agency.
Okay.
And it was very successful. After most of these academies, not only do we get individuals that could go back out in the community and share what they've learned, but then the next classes, sometimes we'd have a wait list on people that would want to come to the class. Wow. You would do a max of about 16 so we can manage it.
Okay.
But also you got the ability to do, you had the ability to go into these simulators and be a police officer for the day and respond to a call.
That's great community
where
engagement.
you can respond and see how split-second decisions are made or how we react to different crimes, and it gives you a first-hand look at that. So that's part of the academy, and it really gives the community a look at kind of being a cop for a day.
Yeah.
And a place for you to ask all the questions that you have, and for us to show you our processes, right?
Yeah.
We obviously don't teach our tactical responses, things like that we like to keep, kind of hidden from the public in case, one is looking to do harm.
Yeah.
But, it gives you a really good look into the inner workings of a police agency. And I know some agencies do it. We did it in our last agency, and I thought it was very successful. So that's one of the things I look to bring here to Lathrop as well.
That's good. Do you have I know you're still planning out, as you said. Mm-hmm. Do you have a projected or planned timeline for rolling that out?
I would like to roll it out right after, hopefully close to the end of summer, because it's probably better to have it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Because we have the people in place to teach the classes. Right, we have the ability to make that happen.
Okay,
it's just making sure that we have the availability of staffing, right around June is where we start our busy time frame, right?
Gotcha.
Our launch 29th, July 1st event. And then the rest of the year just kind of events all summer long.
It's already rolling along quick.
It's already full. But our community resource officer does a really great job in scheduling these events and make sure that they're staffed up by officers. But I would like to roll it out the end of this summer before everyone goes back to work and kids go back to school.
Yeah.
So to really kind of launch into that program and give the community a look at what we're doing.
And that will be publicly announced or even when your guys' okay, that's good. Final thoughts. So maybe you kind of already answered this question in terms of making, the mission statement, making it a safe and desirable place for people to live, work, and visit. Any specific goals that you would like to mention as the new chief of police for the city of Lathrop?
New goals?
Yes.
Well, again, right now, new goals.
Or just your goals in general.
Yeah, my continued goals will be community education. I really want to get into the community, have our officers kind of educating community on why and how we do things and how we collaborate. Because we can't, if you say we're 38,000 people now, 39, what the census says, to 42 sworn police officers, we can't really make an impact in the community without collaboration from the community, right? We need that collaboration. We need that those eyes out there see something, say something. The business is the same thing to call us. So those business relationships are important. So that it's a force multiplier. So one of the huge parts of one of the initiatives that I'm trying to launch is the community education, but also the innovation, working with the ISD and our IT to make sure that our intersections and areas in the city that aren't already cambered out or have license plate readers or cameras leaving the city in certain areas, making sure those areas are enhanced. And as businesses come in town, we work really closely with the businesses to make sure that, like I talked about, the lighting in the parking lots, video recording of the parking lots, and the accessibility of the high definition cameras. And with all these things, it allows us, again, as a force multiplier for us to solve crimes a lot faster and really to prevent crimes. One of the other things I'm working on, what we talked about, was the traffic unit, because, again, is one of the huge issues that the community highlighted prior to us launching, right? Prior to the department launching was one of the biggest issues, and I still hear about it in council meetings and membership. Community members come in and talk about it. And so that's one of the things that...
just mitigating traffic.
So crime prevention, mitigating traffic, community engagement. So right now it's really transparency within our team and transparency with the community. And so hence the reason you see a lot of our social media postings going out. You see a lot of our what we're doing being posted, and officers going to the community, having to meet chief meetings. It's really to continue being transparent and truly transparent and letting the community know what we're doing and how we're doing it, to a point, obviously, we want to continue catching the bad guys. We can't give all the secrets, but we want to let the community know what we're doing and how we're keeping them safe, even if it appears that there's more crime. And we're highlighting it so that that if things happen, not only if it happens, we're getting out there, we're investigating, and we're catching them. Right, we're finding these substances, we're getting them off the street, making the community continue to be a safe place to live. But there's a lot of goals. It's a new agency, and there are a lot of projects that are still, kind of our bike team is on hold, and our crisis negotiation team is in the works. But my final initiative, which for the short term, is crisis intervention training. Next month, we're going to have a company come in, a post-certified company, to teach crisis intervention training to our officers. So it gives you some more training into how to deal with a person in crisis, but also for a de-escalation and how we reduce use of forces, right? So that's coming next month, where we will have about 24 officers in that training here in-house. They'll bring the training to us. And so just continue to provide my officers with additional tools and how to be giving them the ability to deal with the community on different levels when they're out there. Just another tool for their tool belt, another skill for them to use, resources, the ability to de-escalate, things like that. So
sounds like you got your work cut out for you.
Yeah, it is. Yes, and then as I get my commanders in here, I have some help in delegating how those things that I'd like to see happen, because I'd like to be 100% crisis intervention trained, all officers across the board by the end of this year. That would be a goal. I think we're going to make a significant dent in it in March, but I want to make sure that we're providing the officers with the tools they need to perform their job at a high level while they're out there in the community every day, right? And just the refresher training and the continuous training. So training has been huge on our list from the day we launched, right? Before we launched, and we didn't have to because Post gave us a break for the first several months till January. We created trainings and brought all the officers in, and for 4 months they trained together in all these areas, right? So that before they launched, I could say that the officers were trained. I saw them trained. They're certified in all these areas, even if they were before they came from their other agencies. But it gave them an opportunity to work together and see how we were going to do things before we launched, and it created a much stronger team environment when they launched, right? So
that's smart.
Good. It's been very successful in those areas.
That's good. Well, any final thoughts? Anything that you'd like to add or maybe address that we haven't covered today?
Well, in addition, it's just we are continuing to grow. Again, we're a new agency. We're not even 2 years in yet for the agency launching. That's coming up this year. So our foundation is set. Our foundation was solid. And I'm just picking up the baton and continuing pushing this thing forward and enhancing it as we move forward. So what I want to say to the community is that we are a community-oriented policing agency, and that's not going to change. It's something that I'm really passionate about. So our officers are out there in the community, and they're really there to help. So please, if anything you need assistance with, please reach out to us. And we are growing. There are projects in the works. So we will get some of these projects up this year. And as we grow, we're continuing to enhance the agency so we can find ways that we can be even more productive and more impactful. So that's all I really want to add.
That's good. I appreciate that. It's definitely everything you had to say was really good, and I appreciate it. And we're happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Coming from, your litany of experience, and even coming from being promoted from commander to now officially police chief. Again, congratulations. Definitely, I mean that. We're happy to have you here, and we definitely appreciate everything that all you guys do. Law enforcement obviously is needed for public safety to happen in the first place, and so. Thank you for agreeing to come onto the podcast today. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So if you guys found value, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video. There'll be definitely more videos to come like this. Next week, we're going to be switching gears, interviewing some representatives actually from Tesla. Just continuing to showcase the great city of Lathrop and everything that we're doing here. So share the video. Take care. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Appreciate it.